Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing a book review, as you might have already seen from the title. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, welcome. I hope you like what you see. I hope it makes you stay. I hope it makes you, subscribe and, the whole shebang. Quick things before I go into my video for today. Number one is that I am a recovering book addict, and what this means is that I am a voracious reader. I love to read, and in as much as I love to read, I'm also selective about things I read, meaning that I could finish a novel in one night, but you see, aspire to perspire books, it takes me a while to finish it. So I don't really do well with like inspirational and motivational books, but as long as it has a story, an autobiography, biography, novel, I will eat it up literally. Right now I have read about 15 books this year, and I'm just going to do my top 5 books, my top 5 reads for the year, and then at the end I'll add what I'm currently reading. So stay tuned. Okay, number 1 on the list is Helium by Rudy Francisco. It's a poetry book. Yes, it's a poetry book. I don't know how else to describe this book than to say it is a journey. If you are a lover of poetry or like spoken word, then you probably already know Rudy Francisco. The first Rudy Francisco poem I ever listened to, it was to the girl who works at Starbucks. I can actually even say it. That's how much I listened to it. It's like 6 minutes pace, and I loved how real it was. I loved how relatable it was. And I remember after watching that video, I went to find his other videos and I binged on them. And so it was a no-brainer that I had to get Helium. Helium is one of those books that you cannot have a favorite poem. Like that, I don't have a favorite poem off of Helium, because every poem was special. Every poem, it was like an unearthing. It was like, I don't know how else to say it. I love that the book is relatable. I love that there are poems you can always go back to. I promise you, if you read this book, you're going to see yourself in at least one of the poems. Yeah, so I would have said some of my favorite poems of it, but I want you to know, if you do get to read the book, hit me up, let me know which poems you like the most. Moving on, second book is A Voice in the Wind. If you know me, you know that this is my favorite book of all time. It is my best book. It's by Francine Rivers, and the only reason why this book is making the list is because I read it yet again this year. I think right now I've read this book a total of almost 7 times, I don't know, but I've read it a lot. And I read it again this year, and I was just once again in awe of what that book is. A Voice in the Wind is one of those books that if you want to know, like, if you want to get to know Jesus and see him in the everyday, in the ordinary, read that book. Francine Rivers tells this story in such an engaging way that you are able to relate with at least one character. It is set in the old ancient Roman Jewish setting. So think about when the Bible was written. Think about in the time when John walked the earth, Jesus had just died. It's a beautifully woven tale. I don't know how else to describe it. This book is, if you've not read this book, I don't know, I feel like you're missing, because there are no actual words to describe the beauty that is this book. At this time, there were no physical buildings in the way that we know church to be church, and so these people will meet in rooms. Think about Acts, think about the stories you read in the Bible, and think about them being brought to life. That is what this book is. Number 3 is Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. Also, I didn't necessarily read this year, but it had to make the list because it's another one of my faves. I always say that a good book, a good writing, is something that either provokes thought or emotion. This book provokes both. And the reason why I like this book is the story is your average cliche story. A woman who's trying to find, who is struggling with fertility, you know, she's been waiting for a child, and you know, just her journey through that, where you know, all the things she had to go through in order to get a child. And I know as I'm saying it's sounding so ordinary, but I need you to read this book. This book will mess with you. Like, everybody I know that has read this book has been like, you're either angry, sad, you feel something. If you read this book and you don't feel any type of emotion, then I don't know, because you're bound to feel something. You are bound to feel something. It's that kind of book. It's a kind of book that, you know, draws an emotion out of you. It's a, I don't know how else to describe this book, man. First of all, I love books where the English is not high and lofty. I'm not a sucker for like a book that has too much grammar. I feel like it's unnecessary. I feel like your book should be relatable. I feel like the English should be easy to the mind of an average reader. Yes, a nerd like me from time to time might want to read with the big words, but I feel like your book should be a book that a random person who is not very familiar with these things can understand, and that is what the book is. The book is also written in first person, which intrigues me. I find that stories written in first person, and I say this because I write as well, are hard to write. And when I see you do that so flawlessly, in a way that I can tell what the other characters in the book are thinking, even though, you know, it's written in first person, I feel like that is a very, very brilliant thing. So I applaud that. I think it's a brilliant book. I feel like she wrote this book in a way that you read it and you realize it's not really cliche. It's that kind of book that you always remember. It's kind of book you read and you do not forget about it. Number 4 is All Your Perfects by Colin Hoover. I actually debated as to whether to add this one or not, because there's some parts of it that are raunchy, for lack of a better word, right? Colin Hoover sometimes gets into the raunchy parts. But as that aside, I mean, if you skip all those parts, you realize that it's a beautifully told tale. I'm going to say what the book is about. So the book is about this couple, and they found themselves, how do I say this without giving any spoilers? It's about this couple who they found themselves through very bizarre circumstances. They fell in love, your good old story. They got married, and of course fertility issues again, and it was causing a rift in their marriage. And I know as I say this, it sounded very, you know, again, cliche, but I like people who tell supposedly cliche stories in beautiful ways. Colin Hoover has this beautiful way of bringing things full center. So for example, she wants to talk about depression or suicide, or give me a normal social topic, infertility, right? But she doesn't just like go straight to it, right? She kind of goes around, like, I don't know how to explain it. You don't realize when you get the message, so it's very subtle, where you feel like you get sucked into the beauty of the story. And there's a way she talks, again, with the relatability about stories. I love relatable stories. I love writing that you feel, oh, I can see myself. I like writing that it's easy to read. And so when she's writing, it feels like the person is gisting you. I don't know if you get that. It's that kind of vibe. I love her writing. I love her writing so much. Anybody who's heard me, anybody who knows me knows I scream Colin Hoover a lot. I even want to talk about one of her books. It's not part of my list, but if you read All Your Perfect and you think you like it, you should definitely check It Ends With Us. It Ends With Us talks about domestic violence, right? And what I love about this book is the fact that she writes it in a way that you start to root for the guy who is the, in quote, domestic violent guy, right? She writes it in a way that helps you see that, you know, there's empathy. Like, she's telling you, you can't keep doing this. You can't stay in a place where you're broken. You can't stay in a place where you're beaten down. But at the same time, she lets you know that it's hard for people who are in that place, because even you who's reading it, you're now feeling like the victim, right? You're now feeling like, oh my God, should she leave? Should she not leave? And I found myself in that place where I was torn, and I thought it was really beautiful, because it's a what other way to tell people that even though you can live it, I understand that it's hard. I see it, but it's something that should and can be done. And I think it's really beautiful. Back to All Your Perfect. I think that All Your Perfect is a wonderful book. If you like cheesy stuff, if you like love, if you like romance, this is definitely the book for you. All Your Perfect, it's a brilliant book. She explores love and marriage in a way that is absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. There are things I took out of her book that I'm practicing in my current relationship. I love the book. Number 5, which is the very last book, is I'm Lying, but I'm Telling the Truth by Basi Ikpi. This book, this book is how do I'm thinking of how I can accurately talk about this book. Now, the book is like an autobiography, of course, of Basi Ikpi, where she talks about, she's bipolar, and she talks about, it's just her talking about her life and how, you know, she handled, you know, the bipolar thing, how she found that she was diagnosed with bipolar and all of that. Now, what I love about this book is the way that she wrote it. So it's a book about a bipolar person, right? But she wrote it in a way that to an average mind, it looks like her thoughts are scattered. So they are not like in chapter 1, chapter 2. It's not your basic average chapters, right? But it's like her thoughts are incoherent, but they're very put together. You can tell that this took a lot of thought to put it together, but it's still, it feels like it's all over the place, but it's not. I don't know how else to explain it. She writes the book in a way that you feel like you get a glimpse of her mind, right? You feel like you're in her head. You feel like you're understanding what it really feels like, because the book helps you know that her mind is a war house. Like, from the book I can tell she's torn. From the book I can tell that her mind is a crazy place, because the book is like all over the place and you find yourself sucked into it. She's explained this bipolar condition in a way that I've never really thought about it. I remember after reading the book, I was on Google, I was, you know, researching, I was thinking, oh my god, this is what, because a lot of the time when you hear bipolar, you're thinking somebody who's happy sometimes and sad sometimes. But I mean, it's deeper than that. It's appetite problems, it's a lot of things, right? And she explains it in a way that I swear I've never heard it being explained before. The book is a beautiful book. And that aside from the actual story, the writing, Basi Ikpi is a phenomenal writer. Like, I'm a sucker as well for like phrases. Like, I don't want to call them catchphrases, but when you read a book, I don't know if this ever happens to anybody, there are those phrases that kind of just sort of stay with you, right? You read them and they stay with you. They're not going anywhere. They're just, the phrases keep going over and over and over in your head. There's a phrase like that in All Your Perfects. If you shine lights on all your flaws, all your perfects will dim. It's in my head. They have so many from this Basi Ikpi's book. Oh god, the book is phenomenal. I feel like everybody should read that book. I think it's a beautiful book. Now, that is all 5 of my top reads this year. If you have read any of the books, let me know in the comment section and let me know which ones you have read and what you thought about the books. If you haven't read any of them, please get around to reading at least one of them and let it change your life, okay? If you like this kind of videos, if you want me to do more of this kind of videos, let me know as well. If you enjoyed this review, let me know as well. Next time on my channel, I'll be featuring one of my friends. Her name is Joy. She has an IG page called the Bibliophile, where she reviews books, basically. I feel like I read a lot, but you see Joy, I don't know anybody. Joy eats books. I remember when I hit her up and I told her, I don't know anybody that reads as hard and as much as you do. She reads a lot. And so for my next episode of book reviews, it's going to be me and Joy. I'm going to be featuring Joy, and I hope that, you know, you stay and you enjoy it. Yeah, she's going to be giving you her top 5 books. Yeah, so don't forget to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video. Share with all your friends, your family, your enemy, your crush, your lover, your liker, your everybody. Let them know, you know, share it with them. Don't be stingy. Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe. It's important. And yeah, I'll see you next time, okay?